You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in absolutely beautiful Northport, Florida. And I have a very, very special guest in the house. We're actually rocking the new year with some great news from her, but I'll let her introduce herself once again.
I'm Amy Hudelstong. I'm the communications coordinator with C.A.R.E, the Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies here in Charlotte County.
And you've got some great news that we were just talking about briefly about the C.A.R.E ball, correct?
Our C.A.R.E ball, our 34th annual C.A.R.E ball, which is our largest gala event of the year, is officially sold out. And we are like 2.5 weeks out from that event, and we're sold out. We're so excited.
And you're sold out. And are you facing the COVID question a lot?
I personally haven't gotten a lot of the COVID questions. I've gotten a few, but not a lot. We're just adhering to the state and city protocols. You know, we're going to have hand sanitizer and all of that stuff for everybody and whatnot. So.
And I love the fact that you went with the number one thing, which is hand sanitizer.
Hand sanitizer is your best friend, man.
Yes, it is. And I wish people would push hand sanitizer more than they would the mask, just because the hand sanitizer is your first line of defense. Because if you're going to touch your mask with germy hands, why wear the mask?
You're putting germs everywhere.
Yeah, you are. You are. That's the fact. So I was glad to hear you say that. I think you did an event before and you handed out small. Was it you that handed out small hand sanitizer?
We have in our like swag things for our tabling events and whatnot. Hand sanitizer has been the biggest thing. It's like a little mini 2-ounce bottle of hand sanitizer, and people are like, "Oh, can I get some of that?" They're so excited.
Wow! And what's it mean for C.A.R.E to, one, sell out the ball, and two, have that money coming in from the ball? What does that do for C.A.R.E?
So this is like my first C.A.R.E ball that I've actually worked with our agency. I went to one previously, but I guess they sell out every year because it's just one of those great events. You know, everybody likes to get out and get dressed up and stuff like that. And we have a lot of silent auction and different things for you to do there. But the money that we raise from the C.A.R.E ball goes towards our unsolicited funds. So yes, we get state and federal and city grants and stuff like that go towards specific items, like specific things that are outlined in each one of those grants. But our unsolicited funds go to the things that you don't necessarily think about. Like if an abuser, trashes their victim's car, helping them get new tires or helping them replace documents that they may have lost in the moving process, little things that you don't necessarily think of that the grant wouldn't cover.
And, I was talking with, oh my goodness, one of the city commissioners, and we were discussing different funds within the city. And I used actually C.A.R.E as an example, because there's monies that come in that are earmarked for certain things. When you guys do fundraisers, doesn't that open up the usage of that particular money to where you can have a little bit more flex?
So our fundraising society is our C.A.R.E auxiliary. So all of our events and stuff like that are run by our auxiliary for the most part. We have a couple of events that we get behind, but it's usually another like a restaurant or another agency or another business that's holding the fundraiser and the proceeds come to us. Like the 8 Miles, 8 Bars event wasn't our event, but it was Lori and Dana that they ran the event and they gave us back the proceeds. But our auxiliary society, like our golf tournament and, the Party for a Cause and the Yoga and Wine from all of 2021, those proceeds come back to us for our unsolicited funds and gives us leeway to be able to use those as we see, needed.
And there are some special need situations that you guys have throughout the year, correct?
Oh yeah, there's different, we have people coming in and out of shelter all the time. Since I've worked there for almost 2 years now, we've never been empty. We've always been, okay, we're full, like, let's figure out, how we can get this person in, how we can get them help, and what we can do for them and whatnot. And then we always have people calling for our economic justice program. We have the hotline rings all day, every day. It doesn't really stop. So,
well, and it's really important though for the community as a whole to understand what you guys do. I started to talk to you a little bit about a conversation I had with some friends, and they're from another state, and they were talking about abuse and whether male or female, whether married or not married. They were also talking about child abuse, and that the effect that the last 2 years has actually had on situations that people weren't in before that they are today, or they were in them before, but it enhanced it. And they were really talking about some kid situations that, you kind of got to sit back and realize kids have been through a lot, with now masking, now being away from friends, being away from schools, but they don't have the outlets that they had before. They're not different though from the traditional abuse, because the abusers, and we've talked about this before, the abusers are home.
mm-hmm.
Do you find that, and I don't want to say post-COVID because we're not there yet, we're getting there, but with the shutdowns not being as prevalent down here, are you seeing more response differently now than you did during COVID, the shutdown?
So during COVID, I personally don't work a lot with clients. I did some prevention with a different grant about a year ago, but we're noticing more and more that the kids are learning to get adjusted. Like in my colleagues that do prevention, it's structured differently. Like we're in Boys and Girls Club, we were in the YMCA, and it's now like, oh, it took us weeks and weeks to get back into those programs because of COVID. But you do see the kids a little bit more standoffish, a little bit more concerned, trying to get back into the rhythm of things, because it has been hard on them. They don't get the interaction that they were used to. And, with the schooling and the social distancing and limiting number of this and whatever the situation may be, we're still seeing that. And, I think we're in the midst of getting back into those programs after the holidays, but with, the current predicament,
Right.
we don't, it's all touch and go basis. But if we do have someone because Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month is February, and for next month's show, we're totally going to touch on that. But it happens in teenager world. Like, kids are dating, they're, younger and younger, they're having more serious relationships and stuff like that. And I just watched a Dateline episode about it, how the 17-year-old kid murdered his ex-girlfriend because he was jealous that she broke up with him or something like that. But we see that our clientele is more of an adult basis, but we try to do what we can and provide resources. And then we do work closely, DCF is our funder. So we work with them when we have different agencies who we refer children out to.
And so you see, overall, you've done some changes during COVID too, to enhance communication with the texting and everything else, correct?
Yes, we have our text line launched in early 2021 or middle of 2020. I feel like 2020 and 2021 kind of like blobbed together because of all of COVID.
Yes.
So we launched a text line. We also offer online chat. So you can go to our website, carefl.org, and click the top thing and online chat. And there's a live advocate there 24/7, 365 days a year. And our text line is the same way. You can have a live advocate will text you back as well.
And I'm just going to answer this question. As far as the radio, go ahead and reboot the computer for that if you didn't reboot the computer on the radio side of it, go ahead and reboot that so that the radio station actually picks it back up. It'll reboot and be just fine. And it should pick up. So that was a question that I had, just communicating with backstage, believe it or not, while we're live on the air, because we are remote. We're not live in the studio. We're actually remote, and broadcasting out. Viewers on Facebook and YouTube, you definitely have the advantage right now over our radio listeners, because the radio station is not picking up the broadcast, but they'll get that corrected real quick, and we'll be live on the air. So with the situation with the ball, the C.A.R.E ball,
Mm-hmm.
being that it's sold out and being that things are moving forward, and your enthusiasm, I wish I would have said something when you were talking when we first came on the air, because your enthusiasm was like beaming over the
I
screen.
am so excited.
I could tell. I could tell.
I just get to go and have a great time. Like, that is my sole job there, is to just go and have a great time with the people that I'm going with and just enjoy, because this is an event that's put on by our board of directors and other people. So I just get lucky enough to go get dressed up and have a great time. But I'm really looking forward to it. It's a really great, I love my job. I love the cause. And I mean, it's a great opportunity for people to go and have fun. You get to dance the night away. You get to eat a nice dinner. It's in beautiful downtown Punta Gorda. You can take wonderful sunset photos right when you get there. I mean, there's going to be great silent auction items. It's going to be lots of fun. So it's going to be a great time. And it's benefiting the agency that I love to work for. And we're helping survivors in need. So I'm excited.
And the community needs to get behind you, get excited too. And you've got some really good sponsors who have really stepped up. I think they missed it last year and the year before.
Oh yeah, the last one was 2020, and that's the first event that I went to, and I had so much fun. I'm like, I get to go to this forever now, because it's such a great night, like, to have fun with your friends and your colleagues, because we do have a lot of sponsors. I'm in the process throughout the entire month of January of recognizing all of them. So after the C.A.R.E ball, we go into our second really big event that we're putting on, because January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And if you didn't know, Florida ranks 3rd in the entire United States for human trafficking. It happens here. We are directly in between 2 major port cities, Tampa and Miami. So as much as you would like to think sleepy old Charlotte County doesn't have that problem here, there are people that have been trafficked through Charlotte County before. So we're putting on a community collaboration event for human trafficking awareness. It's called Standing Together, Responding to the Call. It's a free event. It's going to be all day. We're going to have little breakout sessions between different areas of interest of mental health, law enforcement. We have a couple different speakers. Let me zoom in on this one here. We have Connie Rose, the founder of Victims to Survivors. It's a nonprofit that helps victims of human trafficking, be more successful in life and help them get back on their feet. We also have Sergeant Wanda Hanley from the Hendry County Sheriff's Department. We're going to have human trafficking survivors. We're going to have human trafficking providers there, like different resources that are all throughout the surrounding Southwest Florida area. Just present information, and we're all going to come together and learn. Basically, it's an educational forum to help people get more aware, see the signs, and how they can get involved and help fight, to end human trafficking.
So as you're doing all this other stuff, human trafficking is all part of this too.
Yes.
And the importance of an awareness month for human trafficking. And I can't believe they were genius enough to make it a January thing. And I say that because it's kind of our season down here.
Mm-hmm.
And we are a lot more transient now. Normally, I should say normally, but we are we are busier now. We have more of the influx of really overseas patrons, and so that opens that the opportunity for them a little
Mhm.
better, I think. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, right. I don't really know why they picked January. I haven't gone that depth into research, but for here in Florida, we know it's our season. I mean, shoot, my commute to work was like 8 minutes 4 months ago, and now it's almost 20. So we can see the influx of people, but right now we're in the beginning of season. We have lots of people just coming here. They're on holiday vacation, Super Bowl's coming. Last year it was here, so we had that influx of people coming from all over the world. Then we go into springtime here in March where it's spring break throughout the entire country, throughout the entire world. Everybody wants to come on holiday. Some people are just now getting the okay to leave their house and stuff. So we see it here. A lot of it went more online for during the pandemic, or the beginning of the pandemic, I should say, stand corrected. But now that people are able to go out and there's less restrictions, especially here in Florida, it is something that is happening more and more often.
Do you and I don't think you're like the person they call for human trafficking, but when human trafficking happens in our community, what does C.A.R.E do?
We provide advocacy for them. We help survivors. Oh, look, there's our event. It is free and tickets are still available. We basically help survivors and find the resources that they need, whether it's from housing, whether it's from job, whether it's from, relocation. It's basically our economic justice program helps them, depending on the situation. Are also, we're sexual violence advocates. So if there's a victim that shows up to the hospital, we do the hospital response, and the same thing if they weren't a victim of trafficking. So we kind of just, it's case by case basis. We don't have an overwhelming abundance of people calling and saying, hey, I'm a victim of human trafficking, but we just try to provide every survivor with the necessary resources that we can provide. And if we can't provide it, we're going to find somebody that will help you. We work with several different people that, provide services to victims throughout the surrounding areas.
And quick question though, because that's kind of like post care. What are some things that people can do to protect their surroundings or pay attention to their surroundings so that they can eliminate the opportunities that these human trafficking people or organizations are putting forth?
So I'm not a complete expert in human trafficking. I have knowledge about it, but I would say being an active bystander, just paying attention to your surroundings. If you're seeing someone, like, you feel a little uneasy, you have somebody arguing next to you, like, hey, are you doing okay? Or, if that's not your comfortability level, like, hey, something looks off here. This young man is calling this lady dada or mama, like, and they have a scripted response when you ask them if they're okay. Maybe, something's going on there. Maybe I should contact law enforcement. Maybe I should just reach out and say, hey, are you okay? We all hear about those things on airplanes where the flight attendant put a little note and said, if you're not okay, go to the bathroom. And she saved the young girl's life. Being aware of your situation, knowing the different signs. I mean, having multiple cell phones, having, looking malnourished, having poor dental care, stuff like that. We have on our Facebook, we have the back of the flyer and stuff like that. The different signs of human trafficking and whatnot, paying attention, being aware of your surroundings, being aware of, like, who you're with virtually as well,
And it's really just, I think, and I know this actually. I know as a society we've actually taken a back seat to paying attention one, to our communities. We used to know our neighbors. We used to have conversations. I think COVID actually hurt us a lot in that regard, even worse than what we were before, because we were practicing back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even. We were practicing the neighborhood communication, and people knew who the kids were. I don't see that in today's communities. They're more shut down, and I think that has a lot to do with social media and different things that are now here that aren't normal. But your advice is really valid, because you're talking about watching for something that's not normal, a behavior that's not normal. And anytime that you see something that just maybe raises the hair on the back of your neck, don't shun it away. Make, the worst thing you're going to do is bring somebody in, that a police officer or someone that can approach that person and at least validate everything's okay.
Yeah. And it's all about your comfortability level as well. I mean, if you're not comfortable directly intervening and being like, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Like, is there anything I can do? Do you need help? If you're not comfortable with that, you can tell your server, or you can tell, like your friend, say you're out at like a party or something like that, and you're like, something looks a little weird here. You can, delegate that off to somebody else. You can call a law enforcement officer. You can call the national hotline for human trafficking. You can ask an advocate. Just, it all depends on your comfortability, but it's being involved is having the awareness to recognize when something's off and whatnot.
Wendy Silva just said, as a comment,
Oh, thanks, Wendy.
see something, say something.
Thanks,
That
Wendy.
that cleaned up my 5-minute speech all in 4 words. But Wendy's awesome. So Wendy, thank you so much for your comment. That's actually brilliant, because you could use that on the abuse side too.
Yes.
These two do intermix quite well.
Yes, absolutely. That we do active bystander training for C.A.R.E. Like, we're going into planning some of those here and later on in the year, about teaching people how to be a comfortable active bystander, whatever's in their limitations for their self, being able to have that transition out into the outside of what they can do and how they can help people.
And it's really paying attention to our community, and I'm going to go right back to that again, because I don't think we talk nearly enough about paying attention to our community or people within our community. I think we, as a society, we do a much better job paying attention to the older population. I've seen people, live, help people up the curb. I've seen, people helping older people into their car with bags. But it's a lot of these things really help if you pay attention to everyone and relearn. I think relearning our current society is something we don't actually teach. I just saw you bop your head, so go ahead.
I mean, like, for me in the business that I'm in, I'm always going to be that person that if something doesn't sit easy with me, that's my comfortability level. I'm going to say something. But I've noticed, and I have nieces and nephews, I'm in my phone. I don't really care about what's going on. So for us here at C.A.R.E, that's where our prevention stuff gets in, talking to the youth, teaching them how to do all of that stuff, how to just be more involved and not just, oh, well, it doesn't have anything to do with me. It's not my problem. That's what we're trying to do when it comes to prevention, is to start getting back to that, because I know, and, my mom, my aunt, my grandparents, their generation looked at community differently. I am fortunate enough to know all of my neighbors, because the majority of them are older. I live in a retirement area, but we all make sure and we all look out for each other. Like, if there's something going on in one of the houses down the road, we all know about it. We all know what's going on. So in today's society, it's a little bit harder, but I feel like slowly but surely we're getting there, because you always want to check in with your friends and check in with other people. So if you're checking in with your friends, that might make it more inclined to check in with like peers of your age, even though they're not your friends.
Correct. Well, and I'm going to point something out, because the difference from the 90s to now, eyes are down. Eyes are down. You said it. Those are, we've got to come up with something.
There's always in your phone. You're like,
yep, everybody's always in their phone, and they're not paying attention to anything that's happening around them. And whether you're riding I've seen people riding a bike and texting. I've seen.
How do you do that? That's like extreme multitasking.
That's a whole nother level. That's to me, if you're on a bike, it's already, in this world, it's already dangerous enough. But to be texting while you're on the bike, I'm not quite understanding it, but that's okay. I'm sure there's some talent out there somewhere that can explain how great it is, but it's one of those things where you look at what we do every day. And I remember what I did as a kid back in the day. We were running around outside, we're playing. We actually noticed when there was a new face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people notice new faces, because they're not looking at faces. They're looking at the cell phone. We are teaching that, and it was something that really, it is what I do with my granddaughter. And I maybe it's the T-shirt of the century. I don't know, but my line to her is eyeballs. When I'm trying to get my point across, I need her to redirect, and that's my line to get her to pay attention.
My sister's just focus.
There you go.
Focus. And then it's like, oh, okay.
I better focus. Well, we actually have lost focus within our community. I mean that in the nicest of terms.
Yeah.
But social media, being on your cell phone, we didn't, when I was a kid, we didn't have cell phones. We had to run to the corner and put a quarter in and make the call. I haven't seen one of those for a while. I did see one in Ohio when I was up there. It's an old one, and I think the city is keeping it just because.
Did it work?
I should have made a phone call on it. I didn't, but it's the same old glass phone booth, and it's got a phone in it, and I'm sure it works. I'm actually pretty positive it works, because they keep it nice. The city, it's a small little town, just outside of Pataskala, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen one of those phones. I remember growing up, there was a payphone on everything, and you're like, when you're a little kid, you're like, oh, let me check and see if somebody left their change in there.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen one of those in a while, because cell phones are so readily available. But for us at C.A.R.E, we're working on our social media and trying to get people to like and share and comment and follow us, because we do put tips on there. Today, I just posted about human trafficking awareness and the national hotline, and trying to get the information out there, because people are all over social media. I mean, and it's not just one platform. We're getting ready to launch a TikTok channel here to talk about, safe dating and gear it towards the younger generation. And
they are on TikTok.
TikTok is the way to go. I'm older and I can scroll on TikTok, but it's been a learning curve of what to do.
Imagine what I would feel like if I went there.
You should get one. Difficulties. We're going to make one together. It'll be great.
All right.
We'll go viral. It'll be awesome.
We'll just do it. I love the challenge. Once again, we're actually driving information exactly where their eyes are down to.
Mm-hmm. That's the point of us boosting some of our posts, because it's a play-to-play market right now. Advertising on Facebook or Instagram, you always got to pay for it and whatnot. And as a small, tiny little nonprofit, we really depend on the organic liking and sharing of our content. Like, we encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram and follow us on Facebook and keep up with the know. We're about to launch a sign up for the newsletter program and whatnot. So just stay in the know to continue to be educated about what we offer and what we're doing and how we're helping survivors and stuff like that.
Why don't you go ahead and give all your contact information?
So our website is carefl.org. Our social media handles, you'll be able to find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram currently is at C.A.R.E Charlotte County. Our TikTok channel will launch here in the next several weeks. We're looking at a February date, and we'll have that with the same handle at C.A.R.E Charlotte County. And basically, our social media is Instagram and Facebook are a little bit of the same because we're reaching different audiences, some older, some younger. Our YouTube channel has all of our caring conversation videos on it and then some. We have our Start by Believing video on there from 2021. We have a couple different things about reuse and whatnot. That's where mainly our videos are. And, our website has information on how to help a survivor, how to help, if you're a family or friend, get help, all of our hotline numbers. You can call our hotline 941-627-6000, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We're there on Christmas. We're there on Thanksgiving. We have the text line. We have the instant chat on the website as well. We have an Englewood office. That's where I'm at today. Different scenery. And we do offer walk-ins here in Englewood as well.
And the reason that you have locations in Englewood, because Charlotte County is kind of split, Sarasota County and Charlotte, right?
Yes.
And so being over there, they still have issues within their community, just like Port Charlotte, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Charlotte County as a whole, we all know how big our county is on the map. But for Englewood, you're a little bit into Sarasota, you're a little bit into Charlotte County.
Yep.
And out here, we're trying to branch out and reach as many people as possible because everyone knows someone. We've been using that hashtag for a while now that's been a victim of abuse, whether it's emotional abuse, it's domestic violence, it's sexual assault. Everyone knows someone who's had some sort of something happen to them, whether it's a brother, a sister, a mom, their aunt, their best friend. Everyone knows someone. So we're out here to try to teach prevention, try to help survivors. When you're a victim of abuse, sometimes you're packing up your house in the middle of the night, running away from everything that you've ever known for the safety of yourself and your children. So you literally have a bag and that's it. And we help those people find temporary housing. We help them get back on their feet with jobs, help them with food, you come to shelter and having a hot dinner at nighttime, being able to provide some sort of normalcy for you and your family, help them get into getting their own house, helping them continue their education with our scholarship program. You're a victim of sexual assault. We show up at the hospital. Sometimes, survivors of sexual assault, they don't want to talk to anybody. They don't want to call their mom. They don't want to call their dad. They don't want to call any of their friends. It's a very traumatic, shameful experience because you think that you did something to make this happen when in reality, we know it's never their fault. But we show up, we advocate with them. We sit with them as, go through the entire exam. We bring them fresh clothes, some sort of normalcy. We offer crisis counseling. We always try to follow up with people. We have appointments available Monday through Friday for victims of, SV or DV. We're just there to help you as much as possible because no one ever deserves to be abused. And unfortunately, it does happen. And we're in a world now where we talk about it more, but it's still happening.
Right. And I want to point something else out too, because Englewood has a lot more beaches and water access. With it being human trafficking, it's also a quicker way to get away. And so I wanted to, I don't think people really pay attention there either. A lot of people are on vacation that come down. Please just take your time, pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to the new faces that you're seeing, you never know what you're going to see and what you're going to have to remember, even if it's 24 hours later. Your information that you have when you realize, and there's been multiple stories out there where people have seen a crime, not knowing it was actually a crime, and they've remembered certain things and really helped the police officers. And that first 24 hours on a human trafficking isn't that very critical?
I mean, the first 24 hours after pretty much anything, but yes, and human trafficking, it's always trying to remember like the small details and, you know, making sure the survivor is safe and whatnot. And not necessarily like immediately going to search for the abuser, but like providing safety to the survivor is like the first and foremost things, and trying to get as many details as possible so they can go make arrests, or they can, you know, provide safe, like get them out of that situation and help them to go into a different thing. I know that virtual trafficking is a thing too now. I know that they'll discuss this a lot at the seminar that we're having, the event that we're having. But with Inglewood and the beaches, I mean, my niece had this happen to her like 2 years ago at the beach. She went for a family fun day. Her and her girlfriends are off, you know, playing. They all go to the bathroom. They come back from the bathroom and there's this guy following them around with a drone. Your image could be snapped like an instant on the beach. So just being aware of your surroundings and whatnot is also a big thing.
Well, and I'm kind of glad you threw in the new technology. You know, drones are required to have a license.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
well, they're you're supposed to have a license to fly them because of airspace. Now they've modified a lot of those drones so they don't go into airspace. So you're not interfering with air traffic. You know, there's nothing like a jet coming at your drone. But I, not that I was going to have a conversation about that, but you talk about a privacy, you're talking about a security type situation. But with you and what you just talked about with your niece, correct?
Yeah.
So with your niece, that was kind of an invasion of privacy.
Invasion of privacy, and then her image could potentially, like, luckily
Correct.
it didn't happen, and like, you know, parents got involved and, you know, words were said, but that is something that they're talking about more in a couple of the webinars that I've been doing for my research and training, is that you don't necessarily have to be physically taken to be trafficked. Like, your image and your likings of an image can be solicited to the internet virtually, and you never really know what happens. Like, you're with the different websites and stuff like that, like, you have a casual video with your significant other at the time, all of a sudden it turns into revenge porn, and then it gets uploaded to a website, and then it's trafficked all around the, you know, country to different server to server. And that's similar stuff as well. And I know when we have our big event and stuff like that, they'll go more into that, but that's something that we talk about in prevention when it comes to the youth, because as an adult, like, most of us know that anything you put on the internet or you take with your phone, it's gonna be around forever. It's not like you can hit delete and it goes away. Like, we've all watched enough Dateline to know you plug in your phone to a supercomputer and everything comes up on it. So we try to teach the youth, like, watch what you put out there. Make sure that you're not sharing overly private information. You're not sharing uncomfortable things that, you know, if it got out there, would you want your parents to see it? Would you want your grandparents to see it? Would you want all the other kids at school to see it? Like, just being very cautious of what you post and what you put out there on the internet and whatnot, because that stuff can happen to people.
Well, there are people out there that are targeting the people to prey on.
Yes.
And when you have something to use against somebody, that tends to lure them in because they don't want people to find out. So if and I'm saying that in a real casual manner, because the society today with this instant notification of everything, whether it's what you're eating, what you just bought, the bikini you were just wearing, the beach you're at, it's instant information that becomes part of I think the whole practice, whether it's the abuse situation or the human trafficking side, because once you're kind of in that flow of information, don't you think that that's almost too much information to be giving out at some points?
It's a personal thing of what you want to share and whatnot, but I know that victims of human trafficking, like the traffickers, they prey on people in vulnerable situations. I mean, when we think of human trafficking, we mainly think of the sex trade, but it's not just that. I mean, we do live in Florida and we have a lot of farmland here. It is also where the promise of a job. I mean, people coming from different countries want to start their life over in great America and, hey, I'm going to promise you a job and I'm going to pay you X amount of money for the day or for the month. I'm going to provide you housing and this, and that. This person comes here expecting all of the promises they were made. And it turns out, oh no, well, I'm going to hold your green card. I'm going to hold your visa. I'm only going to pay you this much. And they get into a cycle because they're scared of, possibly getting deported or getting evicted or stuff like that. So it does happen in that spectrum as well. And I mean, when it comes to other, like people that have addictions, people that are unfortunately addicted to drugs and stuff like that, it's easier for them to be manipulated because they're constant, traffickers continue to keep them high in order to make it easier for them to continue in the sex trade or whatever. So traffickers prey on your vulnerabilities, whether it's your economic status or your job placement or, your downfalls with addiction. They play on those vulnerabilities and they use those to their advantage to be able to, consequently make them money,
Well, and I think that overall, whether it's an abuse or you're dealing with a human trafficking situation, or even a teenage conflict, which may not be abuse as we all think it is. There's a different type of abuse sometimes that goes on, and it doesn't have to be a physical abuse.
No, that when a lot of the older generation thinks abuse is physical touch, and we have clearly proven that wrong. Abuse is emotional abuse. Verbal abuse is just as damaging as physical abuse. I mean, your bruises can heal, your broken bones can heal, but the wounds left on your heart from someone being an emotional abusive person can take years to heal. Because, I mean, you are in this relationship, you absolutely love this person, and they're gaslighting you, manipulating you into thinking that you're crazy, that this didn't happen, that you didn't see those text messages on their phone, or you didn't experience this event this way. And you constantly question, am I right? Am I not right? Like, did it really go down this way? Like, do they really love me? Like, constant degrading and belittlement. You're not good enough. You're unworthy. You're this, derogatory terms and stuff like that. Those wounds take just as long to heal, if not longer. Emotional abuse is a real thing. I believe we talked about it on here before, but the show called Made on Netflix, that show went viral, and I was at a Christmas party in December, and this was new. I was like, okay, cool. One of the ladies that was at the party, she was like, oh my gosh, I love what you do. I love that organization. Have you seen the show Made? She was like, I never realized it was like that. Like it just brought it into a whole different light to me to see it put out that way. And, that happens every day in real life. We have someone calling the hotline probably as we speak right now, talking about the exact same situation that they're going through at home. So abuse is not just physical. It is mental. It is emotional. We're here to help all victims. We have several support groups. We have, literature. We have advocates around all the time. So
the reaction that you had with the social media, we can't tell you what to post. I liked your first answer better. And here's why. Your first answer was pay attention to what you're posting. You don't want to kind of overpost and maybe regret posting something. there's always that rule of thumb with me. I'm really hesitant on buying myself something unless I really want it, and then I talk myself out of it. I think we all kind of need to step back sometimes and realize what we're posting. And yes, while you can post it, the delay of posting some information, if you're by yourself, if you're out.
Oh yeah, there's been several seminars that I've watched just recently, like to, a lot of the youth and younger generation. Oh, hey, I'm at Carrabba's. I'm eating dinner with my family. Oh, hey, look, I'm on vacation, posting this, this, and that. Well, that's how your house gets broken into. You're posting that you're on vacation and you left your house.
Exactly.
That's how somebody breaks into your house. They've talked about, hey, wait, come back from vacation. Be like, look, we just had the best week of our lives. This, and this. Taking that extra minute, that extra hour, that extra day to think on it before you post it. Like, am I sure I want to post this picture? Am I sure I want to post this quote? I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. It's so easy to just click like and share to your story. So, and you're just like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then you have to go back and delete it because you'll get like 100 million questions. Like, what's going on? I'm like, I just like the quote and I just shared it. But it's taking the time to be more conscientious, I guess, of whether it is your social media life or your, web life or your outing, like when you go out with your friends or you're at the grocery store, being more present in the moment than looking down and always being sucked into the internet and stuff like that, I think is going to help our community. And each seminar that we do, whether it's a domestic violence lunch and learn, or it's, a run for consent here we're doing in April, or human trafficking awareness, just the more that we can educate people and the more that we can get the message out, the better the response is going to be. That's why we offer the bystander trainings, which we're going to have a couple over the summer, I believe. That's why we offer them, to be able to educate the public. Because yes, everybody can say, oh, I would totally step in. I would totally do that. I've literally watched people not do anything, like be in the same bar or the same restaurant as them, as this couple next to us is in a screaming, swearing match, and no one say anything, having the bartender be like, it's not my problem. And then you're like, oh no, hey, is everything okay? Or like you fake and trip your drink or something like that. And it causes like a moment of, oh, they stop and everything like, goes on their separate ways and everything's okay. But being aware of that, like in the grocery store, like you see a parent like scolding their child, like you kind of be more like in the moment, like, are they okay? Like, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Or like, hey, this, this lady is at our store and she has bruises all over her legs and she looks like she hasn't eaten or showered in like 3 weeks. Like, are they homeless? Or is that guy that's kind of dragging her around? Is that something? Is what kind of situation is that? Just being more in the moment, I guess.
Well, and I want to bring something else up, because you just triggered my mind to release a file from probably 4 years ago. It was the fact that I was sitting at a bar and there were probably 25 people in the bar, and a guy came in off the street, ended up arguing with the female that was sitting with another male. Odd scenario. And most people wouldn't get up and wouldn't jump in the middle of that because they don't know what's going on. True story. I jumped up in the middle of that and I just said, hey, dude, we all don't want to hear what's going on. And then she turned around and looked at me and said, it's my ex-husband. I don't even want him here. Well, those things happen every day.
Every day.
Every day. And it was the fact that you mentioned bar when we were talking about it, and that file came forward. And I remember that day still. It was like it just happened yesterday, but it was probably 4 years ago. The fact that someone like myself It could be you. It could be a listening audience member. The fact that all you had to do is say something, and it didn't have to be mean and directed at somebody. It was just breaking the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got an answer and then a response. And it was like, then the scale changed. He
Yeah.
was here and she became up here. And the minute that happened, he was going out the door.
It's the smallest of gestures that you can do to actually change a moment of violence. When I was in Green Dot, this is all that we talked about. This is all that we did. And it virtually applies to everything. No one has to do everything. Like, no one has to be Superman and come in and swoop in and save the day. But everyone can do something, whether it's directly intervening or it's telling somebody else that has more capability to do it, or it's, distracting someone, like, oh, hey, I'm going to trip over the sidewalk accidentally, or I'm going to spill my drink, or, I'm going to make a loud noise over here or something like that. It's getting involved, and the smallest of ways that could potentially save someone or make a difference in someone's lives. For human trafficking awareness, it's taking the time to reach out to somebody that something doesn't look right. There's streamlined answers. They're like they were reading it off a piece of paper. They look malnourished. They're,
Yep.
they have like tattoos that kind of look like brandings, like that's my person. Little things like that. Like, hey, are you okay? Like, do you need help? Or, if that doesn't, something happens, calling law enforcement. I mean, yes, we don't want to bother them with small things, but they may have a suggestion of what you can do. Calling the national hotline, calling our hotline, making a small impact is the more small impacts that we make create an overall larger impact.
Well, and I'll say something else too. If you see somebody being put into a car, don't panic. Just remember to write the license plate number down, because the worst case scenario is you're going to give that license plate to the police. They're going to go check that plate. They're going to go to that home and they're just going to do a safety check.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd rather have a safety check than the end result of what could happen.
Exactly.
It could be abuse. It could be a rape situation. You don't know what you're seeing a lot of times, but I've picked up the phone going down 75, and I saw things on 75, whether it be somebody really out of control or an older person shouldn't be able to drive. Those phone calls save lives.
Exactly. And I-75 goes throughout the entire state of Florida. That is our main hub from Tampa to Miami. You see people traveling along that all the time. So
if you see something weird on 75, doesn't hurt to pick up the phone and call.
It doesn't.
Especially a van full of people.
I haven't seen that, but
I have. I've actually seen a van full of people get pulled over in Charlotte County, right on the line of Charlotte and Northport.
That's crazy.
There was probably 10, 15 people standing on the side of the road. And I'm like, okay, something's
wrong here.
Yeah. So obviously something happened, and whether they got pulled over by speeding or whatever, they got notified. So this whole thing with paying attention, I love the fact that we talk about C.A.R.E every day or every month, but the fact that we're actually talking about our community as a whole, just paying attention is the big thing. I'm going to say goodbye for another month. You did a great job.
We shall see you in February.
Absolutely.
I hope that you get down to our community event, the Standing Together, responding to the call to help the fight to help end human trafficking on January 31st. Visit our website for more information, carefl.org, and like and share and follow us on social media at C.A.R.E Charlotte County.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. Hey, Thank you so much for your time. It was nice talking with you.
It was nice talking to you as well. Have a great day.
You too. This is John Rawlings with WKDW saying have a nice day and drive safe on your way home. Thanks. Bye-bye.